Hello everyone, my name is Angela and you're watching Learn channel. Today's episode is about another hot topic among organizations, the change management. While organizations need change management, it is often a point of frustration for leaders who try to implement a traditional change management approach. They don't have time for extra training. People fall back on their old habits soon after, while executives, managers, and employees get distracted by urgency. The answers on how to make a meaningful change today we will seek from Alistair Stevenson, who is a management and leadership professional with extensive experience in human resources, marketing, and healthcare. He has been running business and leadership workshops and providing professional training for over 20 years and has a great experience in creating and managing startups. Alistair, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Hello.
Let's start off by clarifying why change management is so important nowadays.
Well, the pace of change nowadays is incredibly fast. Then if you add external factors such as COVID, net zero, industry 4.0, the pace becomes absolutely frantic. If it was fast before, now it is ridiculously fast. Now, COVID over the last 2 years has brought a tremendous amount of disruption, but it's also brought benefits, strangely enough, and has changed business etiquette in a way which was completely and totally unexpected. A year ago, a German venture capital company would have insisted on me flying to Munich in order to meet with them face to face. That would have resulted in time, it would have resulted in cost spending. Now they are more than happy to have a Zoom call. In addition to that as well, unheard changes are happening. If you tell them that your business partner's working because he's a doctor and he's only going to be available at 9 o'clock at night, they are accommodating. Their whole attitude is, well, we're not doing anything in the evening, the restaurants are closed, so hey, why not? Why don't we meet? This would have never happened 2 years before. Now, with every opportunity, there's also a downside. If you can work from home effectively, it means that you're working in an administration position where it is not necessary for you to come to the office. So if you can work from home, you could, of course, do the job perfectly well in a lower cost country like India. So what could happen for a lot of Western European countries, you can find the entire administration gets outsourced to India. And recently I've been speaking with chief financial officers of companies who are in fact looking at how to do that, how to take the whole of their administration and simply outsource that and have that offshored. Now, every change leads to opportunity and every change leads to threat. Net zero, the reduction of our carbon footprint, which is something which is incredibly important in Western Europe. I worked with the United Kingdom's National Health Service on a number of projects concerning net zero. For example, within the next 5 years, all of the ambulances in the United Kingdom are going to switch over to being electric, which again, tremendous change, tremendous disruption to the status quo. The greatest change of all, though, is Industry 4.0. The factories of the future simply will not employ any employees. There might be a security guard sitting outside the factory, but all the work itself is going to be undertaken by robots. You will have robots which will be doing the work, but then information systems will be scheduling servicing of the machines and also ordering parts. So you can look at tremendous amounts of change and tremendous amounts of disruption, and it's only going to be getting faster and faster. So we need to have tools in place in order to be able to manage that change.
And why does the one-size-fits-all approach to change management not always work?
I believe that the problem is, and I've looked at a great number of models, which typically have all been written by academics. So a lot of the change management gurus who everyone admires and respects so much, well, they've never really held management positions. They've come with these wonderful ideas from an academic point of view without actually being in the trenches and finding how challenging it can be in order to implement. The big problem is that change management models do not focus on the individual. They treat everybody as being exactly the same. People do not function. They do not think in the same way. Obviously, you have extroverts and you have introverts. And research has shown that the introverts do not like change. There are reasons for this. Extroverts tend to vocalize. If there's a change, they complain, they challenge, they want to take your time. You have to explain it to them 4 or 5 times because unfortunately, one of the problems with extrovert behavior is that they don't always listen. But after you've explained the reason for the change for the 5th time, it diffuses the situation. They understand, they go away, there's no more problems. Introverts don't. They feel great pain. There has been a research which was carried out where they put people going through change management issues. So there was a change at work and they were introverted and they put them under an MRI machine. And the same parts of their brain lit up as they would when they were grieving. So a loved one had died, a family member had died, and that was the amount of pain that they were feeling. And this happens with introverts. It's happened to me often. You've said, you go and speak to one of your employees and you say, about this new system we're implementing, are you okay with that? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. You don't look very happy. I'm fine. You're crying. It's an allergy. They don't complain. They don't vocalize. And you only realize that there's a serious problem is when they've sent you their letter of resignation. Now, if you're a leader, chances are you tend to be a bit of a showman. You tend to be a little bit more towards the extrovert scale. In fact, if you're a natural born leader, it's absolutely certain that you're an extrovert. Because to be a natural born leader, you need to be assertive, confident, extrovert, bold, charismatic. And the mistake that you will make as a natural born leader is that you will think that everyone thinks the way that you do. However, you're going to be fed that vital information in order to make the changes and in order to help you with your strategy, which is going to be prepared by your analysts, who, chances are, probably are introverted. Because information is the engine that drives the ship of business. And although it's a bit of a generalization, a lot of very good analysts tend to be towards the introverted end of the spectrum because they are ordered, they are meticulous, they work well in isolation. And with you bringing in a change management program and introducing that in a clumsy way without enabling them to be part of the process, you're going to lose a lot of your best people. You'll lose a lot of your best analysts, which means that you're going to be losing a lot of the information which is critical for you in order to make those important decisions.
Impact Corporation CEO Mark Samuel reported for Forbes magazine that if you turn the traditional change management model upside down, you can get meaningful, measurable, and sustainable results in just a few months. How can this be done? Are there any simple practical methods that can be used to manage change?
Well, firstly, Impact is a change management consulting company. So they have a vested interest in telling you that their way is the truth, rather in the same way that they are hardly likely to say, hey, your change management plan is absolutely super. Keep doing what you're doing. Nevertheless, they make a lot of sense. I believe that the key is to bring your people in early to help you plan the change. So if you're going to be picking a new software program and you're a senior director, don't just choose something off the shelf. And then having chosen a software package, then you effectively dump the change implementation onto your HR team. it's probably better to bring in the people that will be using the program to help you choose. You're going to get better buy-in from the people who are closest to the action. A good idea as well would be to think about having your own change management department, which would report directly to senior management, which is absolutely critical. The problem often that you get with change management is the people who are in the workforce feel that they're not being supported sufficiently. And you're never really sure as a manager whether that's a fact or whether it's a belief. There's a rumor going around that senior management don't support this particular change. So it's a really good idea to perhaps test that assumption. So what you do is that you say to your director, hey, the guys in the department, they're a little bit uncomfortable. They feel that they're not getting the support that they need with this new initiative. Could you please come down to the department and maybe have a chat with the rest of the guys? No, I'm too busy. Well, that's okay, sir. We understand that you're very, very busy and you're flying absolutely everywhere at the moment and you've got a very, very busy schedule. So maybe you could spend a minute perhaps when you're waiting for a flight connection just to make a little short film on WhatsApp to say, yes, we are completely behind this change and we support you. No, I'm too busy. That belief that you're not being supported by senior management becomes a fact, because that way you can see that there's clearly a problem here and you're not getting the support that you need. So if you're a director, you have to make yourself available. If you are extremely busy, think about just making a short film in order to show the rest of the team that you're committed to this particular change. The other thing as well is that change often is introduced from way up on high from the board of directors without any consultation with the people who are closest to the action, who are going to be most affected by that change. And of course, nobody bothers to explain the reason for the change to human resources because they don't have time. Or human resources, well, they'll just get it, they'll understand it. This is where things go horribly wrong. You need to always come with a story in business. If you're making a change, you need to sit down with all the parties concerned and explain the reason for the change in your own words. And this lack of involvement in the early stage with your people, the lack of responsibility from high management, senior management that just give it to human resources to sort out the mess, and this lack of demonstrating commitment to the change, they're probably the reasons why 70% of change management initiatives go wrong.
What are some more relevant and up-to-date change management models?
Well, in fairness, as I mentioned before, really none of them seem to consider individuals. However, Bridge seems to be the best tool. Bridge's transitional model, created by William Bridge. I mean, I've read a lot of books on change management, and this is the one that I really seem to like the most. And certainly, I can't find anything glaringly wrong with the particular model. So, stage 1, ending, losing, letting go. Stage 2, the neutral zone. Stage 3, the new beginning. So, with the first stage, ending, losing, and letting go, you're going to find a lot of resistance from your staff. There's going to be emotional turmoil. People have to adjust to doing something in a way which is not familiar for them. There'll be anger, there'll be shock, there'll be disorientation. And for the introverted people, often there can be great sadness and loss. It's not a fun time. It's a time of mourning. And management have to realize that staff are having to say goodbye to the old ways of working before they embrace something new. So, as a manager, you need to listen and acknowledge the feelings of your people. I worked on a project with the National Health Service, which was called Rate My Shift. It was a very, very simple app where when nurses finished work, They had a very simple app which had little smiley faces or sad faces. You rated your shift. How was today? Click. And if you clicked on the unhappy, sad face, the next day your manager would go and talk to you and say, what was the problem yesterday? It enabled people to be able to express their feelings, to acknowledge what they were going through, and it enabled open communication. And as a manager, you need to emphasize, you need to understand, and you need to communicate that positive future. That's the first stage, losing and letting go. The next stage is the neutral zone, where people are impatient, they're confused, they're uncertain, they don't feel very secure. There's a lot of waiting where they can't use the tools that they used in the past. They don't have sufficient instructions for the future. You're going to find you're going to have low productivity. People are going to be cynical. They're going to be anxious. Morale is going to be low. So, as a manager, as a leader, you need to give a strong sense of direction. You need to keep reminding people of these objectives and to give honest feedback. What's really helpful is to provide a quick win. You use the new system for a very, very simple task. It works. You celebrate that victory. You need to win hearts and minds and get people behind you and feeling encouraged. And then the next stage is the new beginning, the final stage. People have now started to embrace these new changes. There's a lot of energy. It's fun now. There's a strong commitment to that change. People are open to learning more about this. So as a manager, you need to go back and remind people of the progress that you've made, and of course, to prevent those old methods from creeping back in. And you need to maybe have some case studies, some success stories, and you need to be able to demonstrate improvements. And what you need to do is to keep explaining the purpose for the change, why it was so important. So Bridge, it's not a new tool, but it's probably one of the best ones that's out there. At the moment, I'm developing a tool for change management which utilizes Agile Scrum as a change management tool. And it's something which I started doing many years ago, working for the World Intellectual Property Organization out in Geneva. How to use Agile Scrum as a way to involve the entire team, to set a group vision, to set a group goal, and to have your team members working in order to help realize change. And going forward, I'm refining that. So I suppose because of the fact that the tools which I've seen out there do not focus on the individual and the fact that we're all different, I've had to go out there and try and develop my own tool with varying degrees of success.
A 2016 study involving 25 major Swedish and global companies resulted in the majority saying that HR was the home of change management in their organization. Is that still a practice within some organizations nowadays?
If anything, it might actually be worse now, simply because of the fact that the changes that are being thrust on companies are such that a lot of the time, a lot of these change initiatives seem to be unplanned. They're almost like knee-jerk reactions. So what's happening is that senior management are coming with an idea. They don't involve people closest to the action because they don't have time. And then they think, right, okay, so we've got to change. People need training. Okay, so who does training? Oh yeah, HR, great. And the whole thing is being dumped on human resources. So if anything, I believe the problem could even be worse nowadays.
What is the most appropriate way of driving change in today's business environment?
I would say to bring your people in early. The people who are as close to the action as possible, the people who are going to be most affected by the change, bring them in, help them choose and develop the systems. Number one, it shows great respect, that you are respecting the people who are doing the work. You're not just saying, it's not the relationship between the parent and the child. It's not, daddy knows best, this is a system, use this system. Instead, you are treating the people closest to the action as being equals and bringing them in to help you develop the system. The other huge benefit is that you learn information from them, from the people who are closest to the action. And you believe that the process is being run in a certain way. It's only when you start engaging and talking with the people that you realize that years ago, they changed the system to make it more practical, and they developed a workaround, which maybe you're not even aware of. Another huge problem that happens in a lot of change management programs is you need to change maybe one part of the process. So you think, great, we're going to change everything. No, that's really, really unwise. The important thing is to change only the things that need to be changed. So if you are moving to a new CRM system, don't use that as an excuse to change the seating arrangements. You could have colleagues that have worked in the same office together for 10 years and who have now become friends. Making them change their seating arrangement and splitting them up and moving them to different offices when it shows absolutely no benefit, that's a really, really bad idea. And of course, make sure that training is available, but also that support is provided. Make an app, even if it's something as simple as the example I gave you before about smiley faces. How are you feeling today? Boom, someone's had a bad day. Don't use that as an excuse to punish somebody and say, well, if you're not happy, go and find another job. It's to go in there, sit down with them, talk to them, find out what the problem is. Because you're going to keep some of your highly talented, highly experienced people who otherwise might not have the desire to come and vocalize that they have a problem. If you've got somebody very introverted that would not dream of taking your time in order to sit with you and complain about the system, they have an opportunity to at least signal their displeasure. So your job as a leader is to go out and find out what's wrong.
Theory and many change management models assume that change generates resistance from the people who are the target group of the planned changes. Is this assumption true, and how does it impact the change management process itself?
It is true, and particularly if the people most affected by the change are not involved in planning it. When you're in a situation where you're going into work and suddenly, surprise, we've changed the entire system, okay? We've not consulted with you, but we know better than you do. Bearing in mind that you've been doing the job for the last 30 years and we don't even work in your department, we thought it would be a good idea to give you a completely different system because a clever salesperson sold it to us. That's how you can really, really upset your workforce. Research shows us that 13% of people love their job. 13, a 1 and a 3. 24% of people hate their job to the extent that they are actively sabotaging you. They are either stealing from work, they are either selling data, they are either spreading rumors, gossip, and dissent because they absolutely hate their job. And the rest of us, we're somewhere in the middle. We're just going to work on autopilot every day. We're cashing checks. We effectively resigned years ago, but we never bothered to write a letter. So we just go into work doing the absolute minimum. It's only 13% of people who are highly motivated and love their job. And a lot of reason for this is because people are not being given any opportunity to voice their opinion. It's always nice to be consulted. Even if you don't have any suggestions, even if it's something which is completely and totally alien to you, they're bringing in a new production system that you can't really even understand it. Doesn't matter. It's nice to be consulted. It's nice to be part of the decision-making process. It's nice to be spoken to like an adult, to ask for your opinion before a change management system is implemented.
In the past couple of years, transformation was simply thrust upon businesses as a demand rather than being tested and accepted first. What is the role of the management versus the role of the L&D professionals in adjusting the employees to this fast-paced transformation?
It's a very good question. A lot of the time, indeed, as you say, changes which are happening nowadays are coming from outside of the company. It's something you've got absolutely no influence on. Again, coming back to the English National Health Service and them wanting to approach net zero in order to lower their carbon footprint. What they've done is they've said, we want to influence our suppliers in order to get them to lower their carbon footprint. Now, the word influence seems to be, well, it seems to be quite a nice word. It'd be good to do it, but you don't have to. It's like remembering to eat 5 portions of fruit and vegetables every day. It'd be nice if you do it, but if you don't do it, nothing bad will happen, probably. In this case, when the National Health Service say we want to influence our suppliers to lower their carbon footprint, what they mean is, unless suppliers can put down plans in order to become more environmentally conscious and to lower their carbon footprint, the National Health Service, which is the largest employer in Europe, simply won't buy from them. That's a very strong form of influence. So what's happening now is that there is a tremendous amount of change which is coming in. It's urgent. Your company could effectively go bankrupt if you don't comply. A lot of senior management, again, tends to be a bit of a panic. It tends to be a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. They are then implementing this change without consulting with their employees, first of all, which is understandable due to the urgency. Now, I think how a learning and development professional would differ from, say, a consulting company is that having worked in consulting and also having worked in learning and development, what happens in consultancy, you are this mysterious person who comes to an organization, you're briefed by senior management, you then come with an answer, like a magician pulling a rabbit out of a top hat. Look at this, I've got this answer. And then if you're in a situation where the management turn around and say, well, we've got another problem for you, again, you say, great, you can hire me as a consultant. Again, I'll be really mysterious and I will come with an answer without involving you in the process. Now, a good learning and development professional, what they will do, they will sit with the people closest to the action. They will win their trust. The people closest to the action will realize that you're not a spy, that you're not writing reports to senior management about them. You will go around the factory. You will find the problem. And then together with the people closest to the action, you will come with a solution and you will teach them the methods that you used, be it Lean Six Sigma or any other form of tool or any other form of problem-solving rationale or methodology that you use. You will teach them how to do it. You will then look for another problem together. They will solve the problem using the tools that you've taught them. You're enabling them to be able to solve their own problems. Now, a lot of people make the foolish assumption that, well, if we do that, we won't get any more work. You will, because I absolutely guarantee that in every production process, there'll be problems that they've tried to solve and they can't solve them. So again, they'll invite you back in order to help you develop their people, to maybe teach them new tools or new methodologies which will enable them to solve their problems and enable them to be able to implement that change. A lot of it comes down to the trust factor. And I've seen this happen so many times. For the first morning, people are kind of wary. They're not entirely sure who you are. They think you're some sort of spy working undercover and mysteriously for the senior management. But when they realize that, no, you seem to be sincere you're open, you're interested in them, you're interested in their problems, then you really find out what's going on. And that enables you to be able to help them solve the problems. 9 times out of 10, people can solve problems if you give them the right tools and you teach them how to use them.
Any final remarks that you would like to give our viewers?
Yeah, the change is one of those things, we can't do anything about it. It's happening more and more frequently. Going forward, it's going to be happening at an even higher pace. The secret, generally speaking, is to bring your people in good and early, help them understand the problem, communicate with them openly, help them choose the solution. Another thing as well, which happens, and I've seen this happen with large government organizations, it's almost like a spontaneous, knee-jerk decision to implement change. Firstly, the first question, do we really need to change? Does it make any sense in us disrupting the current production process, knowing that we're going to be moving to a new factory in 6 months in any case? Maybe we postpone the change. But if you do have to make the change, bring in your people, talk to them, listen to them, and involve them. Also as well, try to avoid just dumping this on human resources, having not explained the reason for the change. It might be an idea to maybe think about setting up a change management department, which is a cross-functional team which can help you implement change, and they report directly to senior management. And if you are in senior management, for goodness sake, make sure that you demonstrate commitment to the change, even if it's just something as simple and silly as making a 1-minute presentation on WhatsApp and sending that to the rest of the team. It again shows that you're completely and totally committed to this change. And that's it. Stay flexible and make the most of it.
Thank you, Alistair, for the amazing input. It was a real pleasure to have you on our show.
Thank you.
Thanks to our viewers as well for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the discussion. You can always go back to this episode on our YouTube and Vimeo channels or watch other shows on different topics. Feel free to write us a message or a comment or suggest a topic of your interest. Until next time, stay tuned.